Hello. I had to come back because the next chapter has a juicy title. I am so tired. Aunt Flo is due any day now. And I just could crawl into the bed and stay there. So I'm going to go to bed early tonight. The family is back tomorrow. And then the next day, my best friend arrives back home from Dubai. I'm still trying to figure out. I think what I might do is I might cut. So I might trim these so that they're like the waterfall on either side, and then take these pieces and trim them so that they're like here, like this sort of. What do you think? My mother always says that bangs take 10 years off of ya. All right, let's keep going. Let me find our place. Oh my gosh, I'm so sleepy. It's just hitting me so hard. All right, chapter 18 is entitled Gorgeous Charles. Gorgeous Charles. Okay, mic is on, yes. I just ate a whole box of macaroni and cheese, guys. Diet starts tomorrow. As tea for tournament day approached, my social life took off with a vengeance. The good word was spreading. I had formed the International Ladies Polo Association, and offers to hold the tournament abroad the next year poured in from foreign fields as diverse as Milan, Palm Beach, South Africa, St. Moritz, and Jamaica. My committee and I had decided to organize the International Polo Ball to raise funds for charity. Although Ronald warned me that it would probably cause me more headaches than the tournament itself, he was right. But I persisted. And on 24 July, the event took place at the Royal Holloway College, Egham, in South London. Egham, and raised about £12,000 for the Save the Children Fund, the Faith Foundation, and the Trevor Jones Trust. Celebrities like Adam Faith and Gloria Hunningford were there, and it received a favorable press. At the ball, I took the opportunity to thank Ronald publicly. I cannot explain to you what it is like to see your own dream finally come true. I told the black tie audience. I had an enormous vision. It strikes me that if one has enough faith in one's dream, then it cannot help but materialize. I turned to Ronald. How can I start to thank you? You picked me up when I fell. You calmed me down when things went wrong. You pointed me in the right direction. You became my protector, teacher, and most of all, my friend. Thank you, Major Ferguson, for believing in me and giving me strength. Let me tell you, if a woman said that crap to my man, you became my protector, we'd be meeting in the parking lot. Anyway, I would know right away. What woman wouldn't know? I mean, I'm sure Sue knew. Sue knew. After that, how could you not? As the applause rang out, Ronald reached for his pocket handkerchief and wiped his eyes. I had meant every word, and he knew it. Over the summer, we toured the country to appear on TV and radio talk programs to promote the tournament. Wogan, Pebble Mill, and the Gloria Hunningford Show were just 3 of the top shows where we popped up together. Oh, I gotta look and see if I can find those on YouTube. If I can, I'll link them. If I can, I will link them. Okay. By the time we had finished, we could congratulate ourselves on being a polished and professional double act. Rather more to the point, I paid a media analysis firm to assess the value of all this PR. The final estimate was £256,000. Another big social event was a charity polo match at the Royal Berkshire Ground in aid of the Gulf Day Trust. Prince Charles led one team. Being his polo manager, Ronald assured me he would effect an introduction. Did I say infect? I don't know what I said, but I meant effect. He would always refer to Charles as POW, and told me about a running joke they shared. We both sleep in separate bedrooms, and sometimes we agree that our marriages seem so crazy the only thing we can do is laugh. Oh, that's funny. What a good joke. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha. Lame. Crowds gathered early, with picnic hampers and car boots and a running bar in the public marquee doing a fast trade. The prospect of meeting the heir to the throne had caused me to have precious little sleep, but I felt fresh and excited as the riders cantered around number 1 ground to warm up. Sorry, my eye is a little stingy because I cut an onion and... Anyway. I couldn't help noticing the game exhibited a certain amount of needle, particularly when Charles was in the vicinity of a dashing young army rider on the rival side. It was supposed to be a friendly, if such a term can apply when polo teams take the field of battle. But the match finished without any serious harm done to man or mount, and Ronald and I hastened to the VIP marquee for lobster canapes and champagne. What a life, huh? They're always drinking champagne and eating like lamb, lobster, just all this stuff. At the party, I was introduced to the army rider who had caught my eye, a guards captain who said his name was Hewitt. "Call me James," he said with a quick smile. Some months later, this same James Hewitt would feature in the sensational Diana Gate tapes and be revealed as a close friend of the Princess of Wales, with a pet name for her, Dibs. As I saw on the field that day, he was an expert equestrian and used to give Diana riding lessons. But in August 1992, photographs of James allegedly cuddling the princess in the stables at Windsor Barracks were reported to be in circulation among Fleet Street's less than finest papers. But all I knew on that summer's day at the Royal Berkshire was that I was in a marquee sipping champagne and being chatted up by an engaging young officer in his early 30s with wavy fair hair and the kind of crinkly smile that can melt a girl's resistance. James told me he had been in the Gulf War and was now stationed in Germany. What he did not tell me was that he had led the Royal Scouts battle group on a dramatic 3-day dash into Kuwait at a critical stage in the conflict. The quiet hero merely talked to me about polo and revealed that he was even thinking of giving up the army to become a professional polo player. Then he asked, "How is the big tournament coming along? I've heard all about it and about you." I wasn't quite sure what he meant. "It's all very exciting," I said. "We're having a cocktail party to launch it at the Royal Berkshire Hotel. You must come." "I'd like that very much if I can get away," said James. "And in return, you must come and visit me in Germany." "Oh?" I don't believe a word that comes out of this girl's mouth because it just seems highly ironic and suspect that the men who want Sarah Ferguson and the men who want Diana want her. Like, that's what she's always aligning herself with. So, oh, James Hewitt. Like, oh, James Hewitt wants me. Oh, Steve Wyatt wants me. I don't believe anything that comes. I don't believe anything anymore. You tell me what you think. Oh. I just can't believe it. And I'm not trying to be mean. I know it's going to sound mean. But this is the woman, okay? This is the woman in the black hat, okay? The big black hat. That's who we're talking about here. All right? Like, when I said she's no great beauty, I wasn't trying to be mean, but now I just don't even care because I think she's such a narcissist. But yeah, the woman in the black hat is her. The woman in the the dowdy-looking woman, if I'm perfectly honest. Look how dowdy she is compared to, that's freaking Jane Seymour, So that's Leslie. That's Leslie Player. I mean, I'm not saying it in the sense that it's like, oh, I'm prettier than Leslie Player. No, she's clearly a pretty woman. But my point is, okay, there she is. Bottom center. My point being that in this rarefied world of polo with men who have been with Diana, who's like tall, leggy, blonde, freaking princess. Okay, we had it for a second. I don't believe anymore that these men are chomping at the bit to be with her. I'm sorry, I don't believe it anymore. Her and the man himself. Like, there's nothing wrong with her. She's cute. But I just don't believe that every man who has wanted one of these royal women also wants her. Bullshit. Okay. You tell me what you think. I was taken aback by his forwardness, and I noticed Ronald glaring at us from the open entrance to the marquee. His thick brows were knitted, and I hoped to heaven he wouldn't make a scene. The Major's jealousy had been growing increasingly irrational, and though with my new companion, it might well have been justified. Let me have your phone number and I'll call you, James was saying without further niceties. He was full of easy charm, no doubt of that, but a little too quick off the mark for my liking. Sorry, I said bluntly, but I'll send you an invite to the party. I'll call you anyway, he said with that winning smile. Timothy, don't you even start. No. All right, well, whatever. My laptop's sitting on a box to get it like at a decent height, and he's chewing on the box, but I'm just gonna let him. As James Hewitt melted away into the crowd, Ronald materialized at my elbow. He bestowed a parting glare at the young officer's back and said tersely, "That man has eyes for you." "Don't be silly," I said lightly. "I think he's rather nice, but harmless." "Listen to me," said the Major. "I think you ought to know something about James Hewitt. The word is this is the man who has become infatuated with the Princess of Wales, and she has done nothing to dissuade his affections." The inner grapevine again, way ahead of public knowledge. The Major added, It's all been a bit unfortunate. POW had no idea that Hewitt was playing, and doesn't find it at all amusing to be seen chasing after his rival in public like this. We all know what the papers will make of it if it ever comes out. He has made his feelings known to me in no uncertain manner. His voice changed as he looked past me. "Ah, sir." I turned, and there at my elbow was the Prince of Wales himself, looking straight at me with those huge, deep eyes. "Sir, may I present Miss Player? Leslie is the lady responsible for organizing the Ladies' International." Charles extended his hand, and his face lit up with one of the sweetest smiles I had ever seen. His photographs can make him look so solemn. Close to, there is a warmth and a presence about him that is utterly captivating. In short, the man I hope will be our future king is both sexy and gorgeous. Just hold on one second. I gotta move the bunny. Okay. I am delighted to meet the lady behind all this, though I must say I was expecting someone slightly older to have taken on such a mammoth task. "I am so pleased to meet you," I said. "I want to thank you for that terrific foreword for the brochure. Tell me, where are you holding this tournament?" One of Prince Charles's conspicuous qualities is ability to listen and appear to be genuinely interested in what people say to him. With that unyielding eye contact and his full attention, the effect is to blot out all other sounds and movement around you, and for those precious few minutes you become the only two people on the planet. There were others pressing around us, but I hardly noticed any of them. "Right here, sir, at the Royal Berkshire next month. I hope you can come and watch some of these women. They're really quite good, you know." He leant towards me so that he wouldn't be overheard. "I don't think much of the ground here. What about you, Leslie?" I found myself muttering back, "Not too hot, is it?" More loudly, the prince said, "I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it, but I would like to know how it all goes." "I'll send you some photographs as soon as we have some," I promised. Out of the corner of my eye, I was aware of Ronald making beckoning motions. Other people were queuing for the favor of the royal word, but Charles made no move to end our conversation. "And do you play polo, Leslie?" "Yes, sir. I love the game, I really do, but I'm not particularly good." "And what position do you play?" -1, I said, temporarily confused. The prince raised one quizzical royal eyebrow. "No, that is, back." Behind the prince's own back, Ronald was getting frantic. "I'm delighted to have met you, sir, and I hope to see you again." I looked over at the Major, who stepped forward smartly to present another couple to HRH. Charles looked temporarily bemused. Oh, yes, of course. Good luck, young lady. Young lady. She's 35. I mean, I know 35 is young. But give me one quick moment here. Okay, so... Okay, so was this in 1991? So he was 43. What 43-year-old man is saying to a 35-year-old woman, good luck, young lady? Please. When I thought about it later, I realized that it couldn't be often. Also, I don't believe this either. I don't believe that Ronald Ferguson was like, wrap it up, Leslie. Come on. Because you don't do that. You know, like it's at Charles's discretion. You know what I mean? Like, okay. But again, she finds a way to distinguish herself, right? Because she's so different. No one's like her. When I thought about it later, I realized that it couldn't be often that a commoner ends a conversation with Prince Charles. And I'd quite forgotten to curtsy to him. Somehow, I felt he would understand. He literally probably didn't think twice about you, Leslie. But nice. Nice idea. Next morning, the phone rang in my office, and there was James Hewitt's cheery voice. Hello, Leslie, it's me, James. I'm off to Paris this weekend for a party. Like to come along? The cheek of the man! I couldn't help smiling, but aloud I said firmly, no, but thank you for asking me. I just don't have the time. You all... This is just... I don't believe anything in this book anymore. It's just like the biggest daydream. Half of it, I think, is made up, if I'm perfectly honest. I don't... Okay. Over the next week, James rang 4 times, and I listened intrigued as he told me all about himself, virtually his entire life story. But I suspect with salient areas left out, including any mention of the royal family or the stable yard at Windsor. The emphasis was on how he had yet to find a woman who was right for him. He did mention an engagement to some girl in Devon, but that sounded like a passing fancy. The last call came from his barracks. I'm in Germany. Come on over. You'll love it, he promised. It was time to call a halt to the game. I'm sure I would, I said, but I just don't want to go out with you. Please don't call me again. Captain, soon-to-be Major James Hewitt, took the rebuff like the gentleman he was, and never called again. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. We saw the pictures. I'm not trying to be a bitch, but I'm just being a realist. You know, I'm just being realistic. And I just don't believe that every single man who wanted a royal princess wanted her too. What, a little nobody from nowhere? In their eyes, you know what I mean? A little nobody who's, putting together a polo tournament? Who's 5'0", who's plain Jane. I'm sorry, but she's plain Jane. Nothing. I mean, I'm plain Jane too. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying that as a plain Jane, I know what it's like. And I'm telling you that there's no way that men are queuing up for that woman in the black hat. I'm sorry. Nice try, Leslie. My opinion. Okay. Meeting Charles is enough to restore anyone's faith in the throne. Though, in fact, I have been a lifelong supporter of the monarchy. I think the Queen Mother is just amazing, and I idolize Princess Anne for the work she does and the way she does it. No airs and graces, no fuss, and she doesn't spend a fortune on clothes either. She seems to bring her children up perfectly, even her divorce was handled with dignity. The royal family have been let down by the fringe, and I only hope they survive. Perhaps the old guard are out of touch in some ways with today's society. The only first-hand experience I have had with this side of the family was the day I met Prince Philip at the Windsor at the Windsor horse trials in June that year. Harrods was sponsoring the English ladies team in my tournament, and I was in their private marquee talking to Ali Fayed from the House of Fraser when Prince Philip strolled up and joined us. He was told who I was and fixed me with that beady gaze I have always found faintly condescending. "Oh, are you?" he said. There was a... What? "Oh, are you?" I don't know. There was a brief silence. Then he suddenly launched into a long and less than riveting monologue about how he had started carriage driving when he was a young man. We all listened politely until he was through, when he said, "Well, you're a very pretty young lady, and I'm delighted to meet you. It's always good to see fresh blood. There would be enough of it on the carpet at the palace soon, I would think later." Remembering this one-sided conversation, then he was gone, and I wasn't sure afterwards whether I'd actually said a word to the Duke of Edinburgh or not during our one and only meeting. But of course, he told her she was pretty. Yeah. I think she's just telling us what she wishes. I'm sorry. Like, I know that's super mean of me. Okay, here's another picture of her. Here. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just a realist. All right. Unless she was like terribly flirtatious and just vivacious and clever and witty and charming and funny. She's always telling us that what a laugh she is. All right. I had first been introduced to Prince Andrew on a blustery autumn day in London, at a lunchtime reception I attended with Ronald at the Café Royal for the Trevor Jones Trust. We had exchanged only a few brief words, but I liked this young man immediately, polite, open, and relaxed. He made me feel at ease at once. We talked about his passion for photography until he was dragged away to meet other fundraisers. Yes, he was dragged away. Just wanted to stay with her. The second time was in the dining room at Sunning Hill Park. "Hello, what are you doing here?" His voice from the door startled me as I emerged. Andrew stood there looking confused. Obviously, no one had told him about my stay there. He remembered me, and Sarah told him about our burgeoning friendship. "Ah, yes, of course, but we can't go on meeting like this." He gave me a friendly grin and a quick up and down look and disappeared in the direction of the golf course as it transpired. Everyone's checking her out. I mean, probably Andrew was. Yeah, he's a dog. But anyway. On another occasion, on a cold Sunday afternoon, I found myself shivering in the drawing room. The central heating was on, and it must have cost a fortune in that huge place. But the unlit log fire was too tempting. I grabbed a lighter and a box of matches. As the flame started to catch hold, Andrew appeared beside me, crouched down, warming his hands. "Isn't that a lovely sight?" I said. "Do you know," he replied, "this is the first time we've ever had a fire in this house." But that's not true. Because, hold on, I'm going to take the time and go back because I am too annoyed at this point. I'm starting to get so ticked off. Okay. Where's the part where they're sitting there yapping? Hold on, I'm going to pause because I am going to look it up. 1 second. Okay, she talks about sitting around the fireplace, having brandy by the fireplace, and I'm sorry, but you're just not going to convince me that people are, hanging around the fireplace with no fire in it. I'm not buying it. I don't buy for 1 second. But of course, she always has to make herself different. And yet, here's another example. Like, she lit a fire. No one else had ever lit a fire in that house. Her. Unbelievable. I think she's... Anyway. I think you're all with me. Do you know, he replied, this is the first time we've ever had a fire in this house. Yeah, I'm so sure. I had been popping in and out of Sunninghill quite regularly at Sarah's invitation, either for afternoon tea, dinner, or just to spend the day with the family. Ronald was always there, the benign granddad, and eventually I came to feel a part of the household. I would always bring a bottle of champagne or flowers, despite Sarah's protests. On my second visit, she showed me the princess's quarters. The nursery was tucked away in one wing, far enough from the main rooms not to disturb the rest of the house, with twin bedrooms and a bathroom specially designed for youngsters. One lady visitor had commented scathingly that Beatrice's bedroom, in 18th century French style, was enough to give a toddler nightmares. This expert in child psychology also pointed out that the brass bedstead rails were too easy for a 3-year-old to get her head stuck in. I disagreed completely. The wallpaper design was a glade of cheerful animals, and your skull would have to be the size of a tennis ball to become trapped in the bedstead. Their playroom was a pink paradise, complete with its own miniature table and chairs, even down to a small sofa where the little girls could sit and watch children's TV. They love videos, Sarah confided. Snow White and My Little Pony are their favorites. They'll sit there like little angels and watch them over and over again. I hope you like them too. I learned to. I would sit for an hour with little Eugenie on my lap in the grown-up seats, large, comfortable sofas, with Beatrice beside me, and then swap over. Fair's fair, I told them sternly, when one complained. It's your turn next. Yes, children love her too. Everyone's fighting over her lap. Both princesses, I can imagine that children would like her because she's a very tiny woman, and children like tiny women. My auntie was 5 feet tall, maybe a little less, and children loved her. Because it's like non-threatening, and she was so cute. Both princesses were so cute that they could capture your heart with a single look. Frequently, Sarah dressed them in matching outfits, whether they were on show to the waiting cameras or not. As for character, those two little girls may be out of the same pod, but in no way are they alike as 2 peas. Beatrice is like her mother, forthright, headstrong, willful, spoilt. I want were 2 of her favorite words. When she gets married, I told Ronald darkly, I guarantee she'll be the boss. He laughed and agreed. A weird thing to say about a little child. Anyway. For some reason, Beatrice took a liking to my long, dark hair. Every time I saw her at Sunninghill, she insisted on sitting me down in her nursery and brushing with my own molten brown hairbrush. And she would go on until I had asked her to stop. There's a misprint. Okay. On one royal trip where I accompanied Sarah and her children to Geneva, Little Bee's morning ritual was to run along the corridor each morning crying, Leslie, Leslie, have you washed your hair yet? Then imperiously, I must brush it. Bee had a habit of giggling when she was scolded, which tended to take the wind out of one's sails. Many was the time that Nanny would say sternly, that was naughty, Beatrice, only for the princess to dissolve in a fit of giggles. There were tantrums, too, from Eugenie, who had a habit of screwing up her little face when she was just about to cry. Sarah looked at her one day, just as a small storm was about to break in the nursery, and said to Ronald and myself, look at that face. It always reminds me of Andrew's expression when he doesn't get what he wants. He pouts just like that. Yuck. But they were both highly individual toddlers and a delight to watch, and efficient, down-to-earth Alison Wardle, their nanny, was very strict and wouldn't stand for any nonsense. Eugenie is a sweetheart. She has her father's temperament. She looks, listens, and observes before she acts. You can see her pondering. Shall I do this or not? Even at her tender age, you can detect a special attitude. If you like me, that's fine. If you don't, too bad. I'm not going to cry to get my own way. I brought them a little present every time I was a guest at Sunninghill Park. Nothing too expensive, but something I had taken care in choosing. Matching T-shirts from South Africa and with a jungle logo, and one for their mother too. More T-shirts from the slopes of Aspen, Colorado, this time with a grizzly bear on them. Little pink brooches, the obligatory Cindy doll, not forgetting Patch. I was intrigued by the way Sarah acted with her children. She left Alison to wield the big stick, only metaphorically, of course, as she would never hit her children, while Sarah would become childlike herself, diving under the table to reemerge from underneath, prop her chin on the table, and pull faces at them. Coo-ee, who am I, who am I? She was like a kid herself. Leslie, I'm a great friend to them, she told me on one of my visits. I play games with them. But assertive she was not, unless pushed to the edge. I always hoped that Andrew would be there on my visits, though more often than not he was away at sea. I found it hard to keep up with his career through the Navy, but he was obviously dedicated and destined for high office. The ships he had served on had names like Invincible and Brazen and HMS Campbelltown, which had been based in Devonport, only a couple hours from Sunninghill. I knew he had been an officer of the standing Naval Force Atlantic and a flight commander of Lynx helicopters, and there was no doubting his courageous service in the Falklands. I last heard that Andrew was commanding the mine hunter HMS Cottesmore. What struck me as odd whenever I set foot in his home was the absence of nautical knickknacks in his study. I expected at least a modern galleon in a bottle in his personal wardroom, but there was nothing unusual to show for his naval career. There was just one way in which the tide came in through the portals of South York, in the salty language which could occasionally be heard in the gangways. One Sunday afternoon after lunch, Andrew was watching cricket by himself on the big TV screen in his study. Sarah was on the phone in another room. Ronald was reading the paper by the fire. Andrew saw me enter the drawing room and called out, "Hey, Leslie!" I joined him. The Sunday tabloids had been full of fresh speculation about the Yorks' marriage. Andrew had read the papers, just as all the royal family do. Now all he wanted was to be left to watch his cricket in peace. "You know, Leslie," he said quietly, "I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know what the hell's going on in my own life, let alone what's in the papers." A county match had just begun. As we were settling down to watch, a sudden chorus of squeals filled the room, and in flew two little figures in matching red dresses to fling themselves on the carpet and crawl around as if they were playing Hunt the Thimble. "Oi, you two," said their father amiably, "keep the racket down." He flapped an indulgent hand at the pair to shoo them away. Two small faces gaped at him. "Quiet," he started again, only much louder. With tears in their eyes, the two small girls obediently trotted off. Sarah was at the door in a trice. "Don't you shout at my children like that." Andrew didn't try to laugh it off. He simply shrugged his broad shoulders and turned back to the television. But I couldn't help noticing how the word "my" was creeping more and more into the conversation when the Duchess of York was talking about her children and about her future. One day, when Andrew was away, I was catching up with some work on the tournament in his study when Ronald suddenly appeared. "There's one thing I haven't shown you," he said. "What's that?" I looked up, intrigued. "Aladdin's cave," he beckoned. "Come on, this way." I followed him down the passage until he reached a door, unlocked it, and flung it open wide. "Eureka!" My eyes widened until I thought they would fall out of their sockets. Ronald really wasn't exaggerating. The room looked like a miniature warehouse. It was piled from floor to ceiling with cardboard boxes, and I could see other shapes wrapped in cellophane stacked against the walls. "You're not kidding. It is an Aladdin's cave." He laughed at my expression. "Wedding presents, gifts from their trips. They just haven't gotten around to unwrapping them." I remembered some of the mind-boggling figures I had read. 2,000 wedding presents from that July day in 1986, when Sarah had promised to love, honor, and obey. Some of the more exotic included 6 pairs of silver and gold pheasants, priced at £80,000. I hadn't noticed them lying around in the dining room, so I presumed they were still under wraps, as well as 600 dinner plates and enough crockery and silverware to satisfy the Savoy. I also recall the public outrage at the Fergie freebies. Amid the worst recession Britain had endured this century, the public were treated to the unedifying spectacle of the Duchess of York swanning around the world from the ski slopes of Closters to the sunshine of Florida, armed with an apparently bottomless suitcase in which to stockpile the goodies offered her wherever she set foot. Even Andrew himself could not refrain from an uncharacteristic public swipe at his errant wife in that November of 1989, when Sarah cancelled an appearance at the launching of a £20 million ship in the northeast of England in favor of a 6-day jaunt in Texas, during which she would fall under the spell of Stephen Wyatt. Standing in for her, Andrew said caustically, "Thank you for inviting me to take over from my wife, who is resting up at the moment, and about to disappear again on another trip, leaving me behind to do all the work." The record year had probably been 1987, when Sarah notched up fun trips to Closters twice, Barbados, Mauritius, Bordeaux, Paris, Connecticut, and Canada. Add to that the apparent magpie greed, which had the Yorks coming home with so much overweight luggage that it was remarkable that the planes ever took off. And it all spelled bad attitude. Honestly, this is annoying me. I mean, not that what she's saying, it might not be wrong, but it's like, oh, shut up, Leslie. Like, you have nothing to say. You have, like, literally, all she yaps on about is her Rolls Royce, and that was a gift from her ex-husband. Like, she just yippity yaps about, oh my God. Oh, shut up. At a later date, Sarah, as if reading my thoughts again, commented casually, What What I say is that if it's free, why pay for it? She saw my look and added defensively. Also, you insult your host if you're offered something and refuse to take it. Some of these heads of state take it very personally. I nodded. She had a point, I had to admit. And that actually is true. Like, there are a lot of cultures. It's just Western culture that seems to not be like this. But I'm telling you from my personal experience, having, friends who are not from a Western culture, like, it can be very insulting if you don't accept something that's offered. Totally. On the desk was a Mercury telephone exchange. Let me show you how it works. She pointed at various switches and lights. They're for Andrew and the staff. When she reached the last one, she said, "Whatever happens, don't answer that. It's my private line." Ronald told me later that it was an open secret among the staff that when the private line rang, Sarah would disappear upstairs to her bedroom to take the call, and that whatever was said on it would affect the Duchess of York's mood for the rest of that day. Guys, do you think that she's lying? I think she is. It just seems so... It's just too much of a coincidence that all the guys who are interested in the royal women want her. And I know there's one more coming. Because none other than John Bryan. So all these men want her. John Bryan wants her. Steve Wyatt wants her. James Hewitt wants her. Oh, just such a coincidence, right? All right, tell me what you think. Please meet me in the comments because I really have to know. Do you think she's lying about this? Okay, I will see you very soon. Mwah.